Well, I've been checking out the Shudder and Carmilla stuff ever since I realized that the the local bookstore actually carries them. So I've been
Oh,
popping in every month. I've been checking those out, and yes, those are some really good. If anyone out there hasn't read them yet, it's like the classic horror comics, sort of. Would you say like Creep Show or EC?
like the Warren publication, like Creepier and Vampirella. They're
Yeah,
like,
that, but they're modern examples, and if you just like those short little bursts of horror with a with like a mean twist at the end or something, you should definitely check those out. And as far as I'm concerned, you are not a has-been, you are a still are.
and I get so excited about those stories. I write them, and I just crank them out. And Rich has an inventory of probably about close to 100 of my stories that he hasn't published yet. So long after I have assumed room temperature, let's say, um, he's got stories to pick from for like maybe 10 years. I mean, posthumous stories, And I just found a new Bram Stoker story. Well, you're going to be about 100 Don Glut stories, if I kick the bucket tomorrow, And I have such a good time writing those, and they're easy. Just
Hmm.
the way I get the ideas from are bizarre, and how I do my work. The way I do those generally, there's two ways. One way is Rich will send me a cover painting that he's bought, and he'll say, "Can you write a story based on this painting?" And sometimes there's already been a story based on a painting because the story was used somewhere else years ago. But the painting will have 3 or 4 elements in it, and like maybe there's a vampire. Maybe there's a guy also with an axe. Maybe there's a bunch of skulls on the ground. And it's my policy, my intent is to have every one of those visual items that are represented in the painting in the story, and to have that painting as one of the panels in the story. And that's a challenge, That's the
Mm-hmm.
first way. The second way, which are the totally original stories, I'll be sitting and watching television, and somebody one of the characters or newscasters, will say something, as an expression like, "Remember the Alamo." Okay, and right away the wheels start turning. I'll think, "How about dismember the Alamo?" And then I'd say, "Hey, that'll be a good story." But what's the story? I have no idea. So yeah, I have the title, and then I try to think of a last panel, which they say has a surprise ending. So a surprise ending that will tie in with that title. I still don't know what the story is going to be. I have no idea. But I know one thing. I want to do it in 6 pages. So I sit down there at the computer and I start typing, and I come up with the first panel. So I got the first panel and the last panel. Still don't know what's going to happen in between. And I start writing. It just comes. And it comes out to 6 pages miraculously. And that's the way I've written most of those stories.
Hmm.
And I am having a great time doing it. And I recently I did one for an artist who was an artist we really wanted to use, and he said, "I would really like these elements in it. I like to be taking place around Halloween. I want a pumpkin patch in it. I want an old dark house. I want a pretty girl dressed as a witch. And I want zombies in it. And want a cemetery." And I did the story. I put all those together. I made a story out of it. And the most recent one was that Rich was trying to get out this artist like for 2 years. And he said, "Okay, I'll finally do it. But here's what I want. I don't want gore. I want a surprise ending. I don't want the surprise ending to come out of left field. I want it to be sort of set up at the beginning, so there's like an irony thing, going on. And I want it in 4 pages." Now, I've never written a horror story in 4 pages. I've written 6 pages, once in 5, a lot of them in 10. And I do these one pagers in the Carmilla magazine, just the gag pages. The first thing in there is like a 1-page story, but never 4 pages. So all those criteria that he asked for, and if I didn't do it, he wouldn't do the story. So the wheels got turning again, and I came up with one. So he's got a story. I hope he likes it, and it meets all those requirements. But I love writing those, and sometimes I crank one out, and when I write one, it takes about 4 hours to write one. Then I put it aside, and that night when I go to sleep, when I'm trying to sleep, I got some more ideas, and I do a full rewrite the next day, changing a lot of it, and then I put it aside. I don't send it out yet. Then I sleep on it again, and in the morning I always have these little tweaks. A comma here, a dash there, a change of word there. And then I'm happy with it. And then I send it off to Rich. He's never rejected one yet.